part 7 of Understanding the Old Testament. And Lauren took it over last week. I think she did a pretty good job with it. James the week before.
No, I did it 2 weeks in a row.
Did you do it 2 weeks in a row? Then when did James do it? No.
3 weeks ago.
No. Well, anyway,
The beginning of the month.
I lost track of time.
We're in the end of the month.
No surprise there. So where we left off was to read Exodus 33, 1 through 6. So we'll do that. And the question is, what makes it such a devastating pronouncement for all Israelites? And the Lord said unto Moses, Depart and go up hence, thou and the people which thou hast brought up out of the land of Egypt unto the land which I swear unto Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, saying, Unto thy seed will I give it. And I will send an angel before thee, and I will drive out the Canaanite, and the Amorite, and the Hittite, and the Perizzite, and the Hivite, and the Jebusite, unto a land flowing with milk and honey. For I will not go up in the midst of thee, for thou art a stiff-necked people, lest I consume thee in the way. And when the people heard these evil things, they mourned, and no man did put on him his ornaments. For the Lord had said unto Moses, Say unto the children of Israel, Ye are a stiff-necked people. I will come up into the midst of thee in a moment, and consume thee. Therefore now put off thy ornaments from thee, that I may know what to do unto thee. And the children of Israel stripped themselves of their ornaments by the Mount Horeb. So consider God's presence in your own life. How would you respond to the prospect of God's blessing apart from God's presence?
You missed question 3.
I already asked that. Okay, I kind of led with that.
Okay.
We can go back to that too then. So what makes this such a devastating pronouncement for the Israelites? I see the wheels turning.
I mean, I feel like they got caught with their hand in the cookie jar, so to speak. But I'm thinking about before, and this is his promise that he's making to them.
Yeah. Keep going.
I don't know, it's a lot.
It is a lot.
I mean, he's basically saying that anybody that they come up against, good, bad, right, or wrong, he's got them.
Yeah.
It's weird. I was just reading Abraham this morning.
And you know, even when we don't deserve it, right? Because we don't.
No.
So question 4, consider God's presence in your own life. How would you respond to the prospect of God's blessing apart from God's presence? Forget about how you ought to answer this. Try to answer it honestly. That's a deep question. How would you respond to the prospect of God's blessing apart from God's presence? I'll let you think on that one for a second.
I don't know that it would be the same.
Well, should it be or shouldn't it be? You know?
It should be the same
Yeah.
across the board, regardless. But
Right.
in reality, it's not. Because we know that if we believe in Jesus Christ and we believe that He died on the cross and we believe those things, that's all well and good, but that's not what saves us.
No, that comes back to a faith over feelings kind of thing.
Correct. But at the same time, we treat it different.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we mean to. I mean, some people probably do mean to, but I don't think we truly put it to be in His presence.
No, I
The
think,
same.
you know, we're people that are, we base everything on emotion and on feelings.
Yeah.
So, you know, you just look at any situation. If you say something off to me and at home and I'm having a bad day, then you know how it's going to go. I'm just going to fire off, and that old Scotch Irish comes out, and that's all feeling, that's all emotion. That's not me hating you or taking for granted that you're my wife and you're always going to be there. So it's kind of the same thing, right? I mean, in a way, you gotta have faith in knowing that His blessings are gonna bring you through, regardless of whether you feel His presence or not. He's there.
Yeah.
And I think too many times, too often, I can look at it in myself and know that, Lord, I don't feel you right now. It's, it's kind of like talking to your daddy. It's like, is everything okay? Did I do something wrong? Why don't I feel you right now? And, no, it's just he's doing his thing. He's being God. It's not for me to question, even though I think we do.
Yeah. Well, I think it humbles us in a way.
It should. It should. It takes that self out of it. If you really stop and think about it, you just said it right, you hit the nail on the head. It humbles us, and it should, because we're not the sole center of the universe.
No.
So whenever we're not feeling his presence in our lives, he's got billions of others.
And he thinks they will be such slow learners.
Oh yeah. We are the epitome of, hey, don't touch that, it's hot, and you touch it anyway.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Well, I gotta find out for myself.
Yeah.
It's silly, but
Yeah.
and it's funny, we can get in the Word, and we can read so much and study so much and think we have this profound understanding, but we can't even master the basic lessons that we should, I think faith is one of those things that people struggle with the most.
Yeah. It has to grow.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It does, and it's like anything, you gotta exercise it.
Yes.
The promises are all here.
Yeah. Well, that's, I think, what he calls us babies.
Mm-hmm.
We've got to grow. Yeah.
Absolutely.
We just I get impatient.
Yeah, I did too.
I feel like
I like how she goes, I get it.
No, you weren't wrong with that first one either. I think we all do. It's too much of that, and it comes back to self again. I'll just handle it. And every time I handle it, I do wrong, so.
we're a work in progress.
Absolutely. So at this moment in history, Israel is standing at a crucial turning point. Moses' response to God after God's offer of the promised land without his presence shows that Moses knew exactly what was at stake here. He said, "If your presence will not go with me, do not bring us up from here. For how shall it be known that I have found favor in your sight, I and your people? Is it not in your going with us, so that we are distinct, I and your people, from every other people on the face of the earth?" That's getting into Exodus 33, 15, and 16. Moses recognized that Israel had no hope, that there was no point in being the nation of Israel if they did not have God with them. God's presence is what made them distinct. Israel could not be the people of God without the presence of God. Then we're going to read verses 7 through 23. And Moses took the tabernacle and pitched it without the camp, afar off from the camp, and called it the tabernacle of the congregation. And it came to pass that every one which sought the Lord went out unto the tabernacle of the congregation, which was without the camp. And it came to pass when Moses went out unto the tabernacle that all the people rose up and stood every man at his tent door, and looked after Moses, until he was gone to the tabernacle. And it came to pass as Moses entered into the tabernacle, the cloudy pillar descended and stood at the door of the tabernacle. And the Lord talked with Moses. And all the people saw the cloudy pillar stand at the tabernacle door. And all the people rose up and worshipped, every man in his tent door. And the Lord spake unto Moses face to face, as a man speaketh unto his friend. And he turned again into the camp, but his servant Joshua, the son of Nun, and I'm sorry, I gotta look at that again. The son of Nun, a young man depart not out of the tabernacle. And Moses said unto the Lord, See, thou sayest unto me, Bring up this people, and thou hast not let me know whom thou wilt send with me. Yet thou hast said, I know thee by thy name, and thou hast also found grace in my sight. Now therefore I pray thee, if I have found grace in thy sight, shew me now thy way, that I may know thee, that I may find grace in thy sight. And consider that this nation is thy people. And he said, My presence shall go with thee, and I will give thee rest. And he said unto him, If thy presence go not with me, carry us not up hence. For wherein shall it be known here that I and thy people have found grace in thy sight? Is it not in that thou goest with us? So shall we be separated, I and thy people, from all the people that are upon the face of the earth. And the Lord said unto Moses, I will do this thing also that thou hast spoken, for thou hast found grace in my sight, and I know thee by thy name. And he said, I beseech thee, shew me thy glory. And he said, I will make all my goodness pass before thee, and I will proclaim the name of the Lord before thee. And I will be gracious to whom I will be gracious, and I will show mercy on whom I will show mercy. And he said, Thou canst not see my face, for there shall no man see me and live. And the Lord said, Behold, there is a place by me, and thou shalt stand upon a rock. And it shall come to pass, while my glory passeth by, that I will put thee in a cleft on the rock, and I will cover thee with my hand while I pass by. And I will take away my hand, and thou shalt see my back parts, but my face shall not be seen. So what stands out to you about Moses' response?
The reverence he had.
Humbleness. As you think of the experiences Moses and Israel had with God, how might it affect the way you interact with God?
Read that again.
As you think of the experiences Moses and Israel had with God, how might it affect the way you interact with God? I mean, for one, be humble. Humble yourself.
But we can still have that.
Still have what?
What they have. They walked with him every day.
Have a new and greater covenant.
We can still do that.
We should do that. Anyone else? Ultimately, God went with his people, and they carried the tabernacle from place to place until God gave them the land of Canaan, as he had promised. After Israel was well established in the land, David became the king of Israel. David decided that he wanted to build a temple, a permanent dwelling to replace the tabernacle. Because David had seen a man of war, God told David that his son, Solomon, would build the temple instead. It took Solomon 7 years to build the temple. It was carefully constructed and elaborate. When it was finally completed, Solomon dedicated the temple to God, and there was a tremendous celebration as God filled the temple. Just as God's presence had resided in the tabernacle, now it would fill the temple. The most significant difference between the tabernacle and the temple was that the temple was not portable. Remember back to Abraham and to God's promise that he would give Abraham and his descendants the land of Canaan. Now that God had fulfilled that promise and his people were living in the promised land, God decided to take up a permanent stationary residence on earth. The land of Canaan, the promised land that he had given to Israel, was the one place out of the whole world where God chose to dwell. With the temple, God was delivering a powerful visual message. Though mankind had rebelled against God's authority, God was reestablishing his reign on earth. The kingdom of Israel, with the elaborate temple in its midst to house the presence of God, was a glimpse of what the world ought to be. It was a picture of God's dwelling in the midst of his earth, ruling over and blessing his people. When Solomon finished construction on the temple, he dedicated it with a solemn prayer. This prayer shows that Solomon understood the importance of this moment in human history. Read 1 Kings 8, 1 through 13, and 27 through 30. First Kings, chapter 8. Anyone want to tackle it?
I'll do it.
I'll do
Before
it.
we do, I want to say there's a significance to why God did not have David build the temple and Solomon to build it. David, we know, was a type of Christ, but Solomon also was a type of Christ. And David was a man of war. Jesus Christ is a man of war. But when Jesus Christ dwells with his people permanently, he's the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, but he reigns in peace.
Yep.
So Solomon's temple was pointing to the greater temple that will come during the millennial reign and then go on into eternity. So therefore, because Solomon, there was no worse fault when Solomon was king.
You know, I was reading that, I could feel your wheels turning from here.
What?
I said, I was reading that, I could feel your wheels turning. I
Yeah.
wasn't looking up at you,
Let me read then.
Yeah, go but, 1 Kings chapter 8, 1 through 13, and then 27 through 30.
All right. Then Solomon assembled the elders of Israel, and all the heads of the tribes, the chief of the fathers of the children of Israel, unto King Solomon in Jerusalem, that they might bring up the ark of the covenant of the Lord out of the city of David, which is Zion. And all the men of Israel assembled themselves together unto King Solomon at the feast in the month Ethanim, which is the 7th month. And all the elders of Israel came, and the priests took up the ark. And they brought up the ark of the Lord, and the tabernacle of the congregation, and all the holy vessels that were in the tabernacle, even those did the priests and the Levites bring up. And King Solomon and all the congregation of Israel that were assembled unto him were with him before the ark, sacrificing sheep and oxen that could not be told nor numbered for multitude. And the priests brought in the ark of the covenant of the Lord unto his place, into the oracle of the house, to the most holy place, even under the wings of the cherubims. For the cherubims spread forth their two wings over the place of the ark, and the cherubims covered the ark and the staves thereof above. And they drew out the staves, that the ends of the staves were seen out in the holy place before the oracle, and they were not seen without, and there they are unto this day. There was nothing in the ark save the two tables of stone, which Moses put there at Horeb, when the Lord made a covenant with the children of Israel when they came out of the land of Egypt. And it came to pass, when the priests were come out of the holy place, that the cloud filled the house of the Lord, so that the priests could not stand to minister because of the cloud, for the glory of the Lord had filled the house of the Lord. Then spake Solomon, the Lord said that he will dwell in thick darkness. I have surely built thee an house to dwell in, a settled place for thee to abide in forever. But will God indeed dwell on the earth? Behold, the heaven and heaven of heavens cannot contain thee. How much less this house that I have builded? Yet have thou respect unto the prayer of thy servant, and to his supplication, O Lord my God, to hearken unto the cry and to the prayer which thy servant prayeth before thee today, that thy eyes may be open toward this house night and day, even toward the place of which thou hast said, my name shall be there, that thou mayest hearken unto the prayer which thy servant shall make toward this place. And hearken thou to supplication of thy servant and of thy people Israel, when they shall pray toward this place, and hear thou in heaven thy dwelling place, and when thou hearest, forgive.
And the question that follows is, what does this passage reveal about God's glory and the significance of God's dwelling among his people?
Well, for one thing, Solomon starts out by proclaiming God created everything. So why would he choose to be just limited to a space that was just the size of some people's walk-in closets?
Yeah, to confine him. Yeah.
But the answer is he chose to do that. And think about this. We have a greater covenant since the cross. Where's God dwell now? In our hearts. He doesn't dwell in a temple made with hands. He dwells in a temple made without hands. He dwells in the heart of the believer. That should just humble us when we think about it.
It makes me think about what you just said, we put him in the closet.
Yeah, that's another thing we do. We limit him in our hearts, chambers, the chambers, the innermost parts of our being.
You can be in this part of my life, but I don't want you over here.
Exactly. That is the major battle that goes on, and I believe it goes on until the Lord calls us home, or till the rapture, which is the resurrection. And that is that war that is in the heart of every one of us, because the Holy Spirit's always out to subdue other kingdoms in our heart.
It's always an opposing force.
And the
It's
only
clash.
way he won't take it by force, we have to surrender.
Just back and being humble.
Yeah.
As soon as God's glory descended and filled the temple, God warned Solomon that his presence would dwell among them only as long as they remained faithful to his covenant and obeyed his law. In other words, God was dwelling in the midst of his people, but only as long as their lives acknowledged his presence. As soon as they began to take God and his presence for granted, as soon as they turned their backs on God and his commands, then he would leave them to their sin. Instead of the blessing that comes with God's presence, Israel would experience the judgment that comes with rejecting God. We'll read 1 Kings 9, 1-9.
And it came to pass, when Solomon had finished the building of the house of the Lord, and the king's house, and all Solomon's desire which he was pleased to do, that the Lord appeared to Solomon the second time, as he had appeared unto him at Gibeon. And the Lord said unto him, I have heard thy prayer and thy supplication that thou hast made before me. I have hallowed this house which thou hast built, to put my name there forever. And mine eyes and my heart shall be there perpetually. And if thou wilt walk before me as David thy father walked, in integrity of heart and in uprightness, to do according to all that I have commanded thee, and will keep my statutes and my judgments, then I will establish the throne of thy kingdom upon Israel forever, as I promised to David thy father, saying, there shall not fail thee a man upon the throne of Israel. But if you shall at all turn from following me, you or your children, and will not keep my commandments and my statutes, which I have set before you, but go and serve other gods and worship them, then I will cut off Israel out of the land which I have given them in thy house, and this house, which I have hallowed for my name, will I cast out of my sight, and Israel shall be a proverb and a byword among all people. And at this house which is high, every one that passeth by it shall be astonished, and shall hiss, and they shall say, why hath the Lord done this unto this land and to this house? And they shall answer, because they forsook the Lord their God, who brought forth their fathers out of the land of Egypt, and have taken hold upon other gods, and have worshipped them and served them. Therefore the Lord brought upon them all this evil.
And that's the words of the Father.
Talk about a warning.
Yeah.
So what does God's warning to Solomon teach us about what it means for God's presence to dwell in the midst of his people?
You better do what he tells you to do, or there's gonna be consequences.
Sin always has consequences, don't it?
And we definitely want him by our side always.
Tragically, God's warning in 1 Kings 9 became a reality. In the book of Ezekiel, God's people found themselves in exile as a punishment for rejecting God's reign. Ezekiel records the glory of God departing from the temple in Ezekiel 10:11. An event that was just as dramatic as God's glory filling the temple in 1 Kings 8. Once again, God's people found themselves alienated from God's presence on earth. It had become clear that the tabernacle and the temple would not be the ultimate solution. So how would humanity be able to live in God's presence? Once again, Jesus solves the problems raised by the events in the Old Testament. John opened his gospel by describing Jesus as the Word, who was with God in the beginning and who was God. Then John said something that is shocking in light of what we've been saying about God's presence on earth. The Word became flesh and dwelt among us. And we have seen his glory as the only Son from the Father, full of grace and truth. That phrase, the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, carries huge significance. The word John used for dwelt literally means set up a tent. John's word is a Greek translation that comes from the Hebrew word for tabernacle used in the Old Testament. So John was announcing that the tabernacle has once again returned, but this time the tabernacle exists in the person of Jesus Christ. With Jesus, the problem of God's presence among people is solved once and for all. Jesus shows us what it looks like for people to dwell with God, and what it means for humanity to embody the presence of God. With Jesus, we never have to worry about losing the presence of God. He came and dwelt among us, and we are joined to him because of his death on the cross. Beyond that, God's presence now dwells in us through the Holy Spirit. In fact, Paul said that we are a temple of the Holy Spirit in 1 Corinthians 6:19. He said that we are joined together as the church and we grow into a holy temple in the Lord, Ephesians 2:21. In Jesus, we are being built together into a dwelling place for God by the Spirit. How does what you have studied thus far help you understand the significance of God becoming man in Jesus and of the church being identified as a dwelling place for God?
The story's not ending. It didn't end at Revelations. It's for, it amazes me how, even in the beginning in Genesis, how he started. To fast forward centuries to me, and to see how what he wants for me, and to see where my part is supposed to be in it, and how it plays into all that. It's just, it's mind-boggling to me, but at the same time it's humbling. And it's a need that you don't. At an early age, I didn't feel like it meant anything. You know, because I wasn't taught. I was, oh, you're saved, good job. Here we go. And then that was it. Whereas now, learning and being in his word and praying every day and realizing what his plan is just, it's humbling and mind-boggling at the same time.
You know, in the grand scheme of things, from creation until there's been billions of souls passed through.
Mm-hmm.
So you're looking at the grand scheme of things, individually, you're this daggone big.
Not even that.
And he loved you enough and cared enough about you to shed his blood on the cross for that little, what would appear to be an insignificant speck in the grand scheme of everything.
Mm-hmm.
So if that doesn't humble somebody, man, I don't know. But anybody not humbled by that better go and get a big old slice of humble pie because and strap in, because the ride ain't gonna be fun if it don't.
Mm-hmm.
Faith and obedience, he wants your brokenness, he wants your heart.
The only thing we can ever bring him is brokenness.
Yeah, I have nothing to offer. A track record. It ain't pretty, so it doesn't,
But that's all he wants.
yeah, that victory is what brings him glory. You know? Oh, anybody else? Okay. We will discuss this in greater depth at the end of the New Testament section, but the Bible ends with a beautiful vision of God's glory filling the entire earth in Revelations 21 and 22. From the moment that the Holy Spirit filled the early church in Acts 2, God's presence has dwelt on earth through his church. But when Jesus returns to set the world to rights, the whole world will be filled with God's presence. What Adam and Eve enjoyed in Eden will be experienced on every point of the globe as renewed humanity enjoys God's renewed presence in a renewed creation. And there's that promise. This is going to be a short one today because I'm just trying to finish up this chapter from last week, so we'll let it rest there. Let's spend some time in prayer. Ask God to help you understand the significance of his presence on earth and to help you live together with the other Christians in your life in a way that reflects his presence and glory in your midst.